So Darby was a woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer probably now about 3.5 years ago. She went through treatment, did well for a short period of time. Early on realized that she needed a whole team around her, and she gathered around her a team of friends and family and healthcare providers. And they supported her through that initial course of treatment. And then, unfortunately, about a year later, she developed metastatic breast cancer. At this point in time, she realized that, unfortunately, she had a situation, a problem that could not be cured, but she was determined to fight as much as she could. And more than that, she was determined that other people shouldn't have to go through this in the future. She brought with her to every clinic visit literally an army of these friends of hers who would pepper me with questions, and I felt after each and every visit that I had been cross-examined, because I was, mostly by a bunch of lawyers. And she managed to get through the next year or so. Ultimately, she died from her cancer. She died and reminded me, not that I need to be reminded, but reminded me more than most people of how much suffering is involved at the end of people's lives. And the only way I know how to totally eliminate that suffering is to eliminate cancer as a cause of death. And although our colleagues in pain and palliative care do a wonderful job, there's no better solution than to just prevent the problem to begin with. Darby's friends decided that they wanted to do something as well, and so they formed a team, Team Darby. They walked in the Jimmy Fund Walk, and they raised several $100,000. Now, I just want to tell you what we've been able to do with that money. So, we are, of course, an institute and a program that is devoted to both patient care and to changing patient care. And the way we change patient care is we do research. We do research in the laboratory, we do research in the clinic. And that is how the world will be a different place for cancer patients in the future. And what we have chosen to do is, with these funds, make sure that every single patient who has metastatic breast cancer is assigned to a specific study coordinator, so that we can, this is a research study coordinator, so that we can reduce the barrier for anyone participating in research. Now, sometimes that research is participation in new drug therapies, clinical trials, and we enroll about 400 patients a year on clinical trials in our breast cancer program. But sometimes there's studies that look at the kind of work Jennifer has been very involved in, looking at the effect of exercise or diet, and sometimes it's tissue collection studies. Very often it's tissue collection studies, so that we can work with our colleagues in the laboratory and try to understand why one drug works and another one doesn't in a given woman's tumor. Now, let's see if I can remember all 4 reasons, but there are 4 reasons why we feel that having this approach with these study coordinators is so critical. One is, of course, as I mentioned, we want to lower the barriers for participation in clinical research. Second, it's never a bad thing to have somebody on your care team. And even though this is a research person, it's someone who's going to be very involved with that patient, and particularly for our patients who live at a distance, who may be getting a great deal of care in Bangor, Maine, or in Toledo, Ohio, or someplace else. This is someone who can keep in touch with them. Third, we want to send a message, and we want to send a message both within our program and outside of our program, that we view research and clinical work as going entirely hand in hand. And this is a way of integrating. And finally, and this is just an added bonus, is that these people we hire, these are our leaders in the future. The people who take these kinds of jobs are the doctors and nurses and PhD researchers who are going to make a difference 5 years and 10 years and 15 years from now. And I think it is fair to say that there is no way we would be able to fund a program like this. And of course, ultimately, we're going to have to make sure that these funds are well used and that the program is working, although I have a great and strong belief that it will be hugely successful. But we couldn't do this without philanthropic funds. And so Team Darby and others who contribute to this effort allow us to do something that truly, in my mind, no other cancer center has been able to do. And I think it's really going to make a difference in everything that we do.